Welcome to The Explainer. Our whole deal is breaking down big, complex stories into visuals that, actually make sense. So, how does a company, a tech giant, bounce back from what feels like a massive public faceplant? Well, today we're digging into one of the greatest comeback stories in software history, the story of Microsoft's Windows 7. It's an amazing tale of what happens when you actually listen to your customers and turn a total disaster into an absolute triumph.
Okay, so to really get why Windows 7 was so loved, we have to go back in time a bit. We need to remember the operating system it replaced. And to put it mildly, the bar, well, it was basically on the floor.
Millions of users were hyped for the successor to the incredibly popular, super stable Windows XP. But what they got with Vista was, not what they expected. It turned into a critical and commercial disappointment almost right out of the gate.
I mean, the reception was just brutal. People complained that it was unbelievably slow, even on brand new computers. And those infamous user account control pop-ups? Gosh, they asked for permission for practically everything. It literally felt like the operating system was fighting you every single step of the way.
So the difference between how people saw Vista and what was being promised for the next version, it couldn't be more dramatic. Microsoft wasn't just planning a simple update. This was basically damage control. They had to prove they were still listening.
And listen, they did. Microsoft knew it couldn't just put a Band-Aid on Vista's problems. No, it had to go right back to the drawing board with a completely new attitude. So the development of Windows 7 was guided by this new set of rules. And honestly, it reads like a direct apology for Vista. I mean, every single goal here is a direct answer to a major complaint people had. The whole focus shifted away from flashy new features and toward one simple idea: making your everyday computer use work flawlessly.
This right here became the team's mantra. The mission was to build an OS that felt like this seamless, invisible partner, not a chore you had to manage. It was all about refinement, not revolution.
So how did they turn those principles into features people actually fell in love with? Well, it wasn't about one single killer app. It was about dozens of small, smart improvements that all added up to a really, really great experience. Probably the most obvious and most beloved change was the taskbar. It got a massive, much-needed overhaul. They nicknamed it the Superbar, and it totally changed how we all interact with our open programs.
And you can see that new focus on simplicity right here. All that clutter from the old taskbar, gone. In its place was this clean, icon-driven system that was both a program launcher and a window manager. It was intuitive, it saved a ton of screen space, and it just made multitasking feel easy.
Another little feature that was actually revolutionary was Arrow Snap. You could just drag a window to the side of the screen, and boom, it would automatically snap to fill that half. Drag it to the top, it maximizes. It seems so basic now, but back then, it was a total game changer for organizing your workspace. And beyond those big visual changes, there was a whole bunch of other smart stuff. Jump lists made getting to your recent files a piece of cake. Libraries helped you organize stuff without you having to actually move files around. And the Action Center, it finally tamed all those constant pop-ups and notifications. Every single feature was designed to remove a little bit of friction.
So, what was the result of all this focus on the user? It led to one thing. And it was undeniable. Just massive, immediate success.
Yeah, the numbers really speak for themselves here. In its first year alone, Windows 7 sold 240 million licenses. That made it the fastest-selling operating system in history at that point. It just completely blew Vista out of the water, and more importantly, it restored people's faith in the Windows brand.
Just think about that for a second. At its peak, only 3 years after it came out, almost 1 out of every 2 desktop computers in the entire world was running Windows 7. The adoption rate was just staggering, from regular home users to the biggest corporations.
This quote from a user just nails it. It perfectly captures how people felt. Windows 7 wasn't seen as just another flashy new product. For many, it felt like Microsoft was finally delivering on a promise. They had finally made the modern, reliable OS everyone had been waiting for.
But, as it goes with all great software, technology keeps moving forward, and the reign of Windows 7, well, it eventually had to come to an end. I mean, what a run. For over a decade,
It was the gold standard for millions and millions of people. But after Microsoft officially ended all support in 2020, that really marked the close of a huge chapter in computing history.
And yet, you can still see its influence everywhere today. Those core ideas that made it such a hit, the focus on the user, the clean taskbar, the smart window snapping, they didn't just disappear. They actually became the foundation for the Windows operating systems we're all still using.
You know, it all brings up a question that tech folks still argue about. Was Windows 7 the last truly great operating system? For millions of people, it hit this perfect sweet spot, the ideal balance of features, performance, and pure simplicity. But its story is about so much more than software. It's a powerful lesson in redemption, proving that sometimes the best way to innovate isn't to add more, but to stop, listen, and simplify.